Hi, everybody. I hope that you are all doing well. We're going to jump right into this thing because I don't want to end up spending hours and hours here, but we actually could because this is just a firestorm. Okay. Now, I don't even have to tell you who Mica Miller is. You already know. If you're in the true crime community, you have no doubt about what who Mica Miller is and what has happened to her. She was married to a man, John Paul Miller, who is supposedly was a preacher, pastor. He had his own church. And it's come out now that there were all kinds of just crazy, unusual behavior. He's been accused of many things, one of which was sleeping with the teenagers that were in the church, also engaging in sex parties, and he's just generally all the way around a curious guy, just very, very odd. And sadly, Mica Miller recently died, and the cops said that it was suicide. Now, the truth is that she had bruising on her hands and arm. There were things that suggested that, maybe she had been in a fight for her life or otherwise. They do have video of her purchasing a firearm right before she, a couple days before she killed herself. And there was a telephone call where she called in and said that she wanted to make sure that 911 had her location because she was going to kill herself. She wanted her family to be able to find her. Now, there are many people, including law officers. There is an investigation. They've said that it was a suicide, but there is an investigation because more and more information is coming out that shows this woman was experiencing unbelievable levels of abuse. It does appear that she was being sexually groomed from the age of 14 by this preacher. And he had a couple of divorces, and his ex-wife, not Mica, but the woman that you see on the left, she has come out now with some actually kind of curious, interesting information. But she talks about how the separation from him was the result of her learning that John Paul was having an affair with Mica Miller, who was the praise and worship leader at the church. She was also John Paul Miller and Allison's babysitter. She was considered Mica was also married to a guy named Jeremy, who was John Paul's friend or best friend. So Allison goes on to describe that the marital misconduct not only destroyed her marriage, caused her to lose her church family, and her income was just devastated. It completely damaged the relationship between John Paul and the children. John Paul Miller confessed to his wife at the time. He confessed not only to Allison, but to the church members that not only was he sort of messing around with Mica, but that he had had sexual encounters with young females from the church who were under age 16. And this just burns me up, makes me so angry. This is not a church issue. This isn't a religious biblical problem here. This is a criminal activity. The man should have been registered as a sex offender. That is the truth. So at the time that all this played out, the couple signed a final divorce agreement that Miller would pay $1,200 a month in child support and $1,100 a month in alimony, for a total of $3,300 a month. He made one payment, and then he said he couldn't pay it anymore. He just didn't have no money. He just was out of money. Now, the accountant at the time showed that the church was actually doing better than it had ever done financially. But in a bizarre moment, John Paul showed up in court as they were fighting out this battle over alimony and child support and whatnot. He shows up in court in a wheelchair. That's right, a wheelchair. During this time, he claimed that he was trying to, have reconciliation with Allison. I think what it was, he just didn't want to pay the money and he wanted to keep his ministry going, right? No, never mind that he's a sex offender. He just wanted to keep up the delusion that he was such a great guy and was doing so fine, right? But he shows up in court in a wheelchair, which is just bizarre beyond belief. And he tells the judge that he had fallen out of a tree and broken his legs. That's plural, both legs. And so when I saw that, I thought, that is crazy. That for a grown man to fall out of a tree and break not one leg, but two, that's very hard to believe. Maybe ankles, right? Maybe snap one of the legs if you fall funny, but not a young man. That's pretty strange because your leg bones are very, very powerful. And so I really, at that point, then I was intrigued because I said, it's not just, this is not just a story of sociopathic kind of, gamemanship. There's something else going on here if he would go to the extreme. I mean, it's fraud, right? If he's lying, then it's complete fraud. So I thought, okay, I'm going to dig into this story. I know a lot of people have been looking at the story. I know a lot of people have been, kind of, oh, no, she didn't kill herself. She was murdered. He did it, or he hired someone to do it. There's lots and lots of side discussions about this. And so I thought, okay, this is a very interesting video to go into. Now, I want to say this. Please listen to me. Those of you that watch Dr. G or some of the other psychologists that are on social media, I am not, and I repeat, I'm not going to diagnose this man. Okay, I can't do that at all. We're just simply talking about what could be happening, correct? So hold on just 1 second. Let me give you a full screen here. And I'm going to play this bizarre, crazy video of John Paul Miller lying in the middle of the grass. Well, shoot. Hold on. I lost y'all. Hold on. I'm so sorry. What is happening here? Present. Share screen. Facebook. Share. All right. Now then. So I'm going to play this bizarre video. And I'm going to talk about some things that we're seeing in this video. Basically, I'm not diagnosing. I'm only talking about what I'm seeing here and what might be happening. Not what is happening, but what is, potentially what could be happening. Because there's a lot of people that have said this guy's lying. He's just flat out looking and acting like a fool because he knows he's in trouble. He's scared because he's under investigation. His ex, or his actual wife, had killed herself. And so he's just, he's scared, right? He's freaked out. Well, I'm going to challenge you a little bit. There is this interesting, there's this interesting condition, somatoform disease, that is listed in the DSM-5. It is considered, it's now currently called among neurologists and physiologists, it's called functional neurologic disorder. And functional neurologic disorder, FND, is basically conversion disorder. Now, those of you that may be physical therapists or have some kind of association with the medical community or mental health, you would recognize conversion disorder as a condition where unusual neuromuscular signs and symptoms are demonstrated when there is literally no organic reason for those symptoms to exist. And for example, someone can end up being blind, but when they are examined, they have no reason. The eye itself is healthy. The ocular nerve is healthy. There is no brain damage in that particular lobe. And so there's no reason for them to be blind, and yet they are blind. When this is usually diagnosed is after all the different tests, medical tests, physiological testing. When all of that testing has been completed and there is no known organic reason for these symptoms, they get referred over to psychiatry, and then we begin to work with them. And basically what is happening for some unknown reason is that they experience trauma or a mood related disorder. And rather than embracing those sensory type of experience of depression or anxiety, it comes out as a physical symptom. So in other words, you find out your wife's having an affair. The result is not that you get angry or sad or cry. The result is that you have paralysis and can't walk. I know, it's a crazy condition. Okay. So we call it a functional neurologic disorder, traditionally known as conversion disorder, and it falls under the heading of somatoform disorder. And I thought this was so interesting because what he is showing, and we don't have any way of knowing if he's really experiencing these things outside his control, or is he having an episode, right? And it's curious. I have reason to believe it's all an act, and I have reason to believe, okay, well, maybe it's not an act. I don't know. But let's talk about it, because when you go through the diagnoses for this, the diagnostic criteria, part of that diagnostic criteria, or a huge part of it, is, has this person recently experienced a great trauma, like a car wreck, or getting a divorce, or losing a child? And I think definitely in this situation, John Paul is under the gun. I mean, he has lost everything. All of his past deeds are coming out, and they are coming out in a tremendous fashion. Local community people that loved Mica, sleuthers in general, have all taken a huge interest in this case. And man, every one of his bad deeds are coming out for the world to see. And the question is, when he showed up in the wheelchair, I broke my legs, I can't walk, or when he's lying on the ground demonstrating what appears to be muscle spasticity, where the muscles tighten, and they tighten to a point that you're unable to move. Sometimes you're unable to speak or walk. He's demonstrating formication, which I think is very interesting, that formication is in this whole picture. Formication is a tactile hallucination where the person thinks that they can feel bugs crawling on them. And when you listen closely, you can hear him start saying that, he can feel ants, And a couple times he'll say, like, the ants are in his head, like crawling up, around on his head. It is, there is absolute belief that formication is a symptom of conversion disorder. So formication is a symptom of conversion disorder or functional achynesias, sometimes dystonias. So, I mean, he's kind of demonstrating, the whole entire kitchen sink of symptoms. So it's curious to consider. In conversion disorder, remember, it starts out as like a mood problem, or they just experienced a big trauma. And rather than expressing it naturally and talking about the emotional sensory experience of the trauma and the condition, instead they demonstrate unusual muscle tension, spasms, twitches, tremors. This can be so severe that can lead all the way to paralysis. And I keep thinking about showing up in the courtroom in the wheelchair, or it can just be, weaknesses. In general, those people most likely to present with conversion disorder, although definitely not always. There have been some very wealthy people that have had it and such. But in general, research says people that are less educated are more likely to experience conversion disorder. People in the lower socioeconomic strata, people from very rural areas or underdeveloped geographical areas, and like, let's say, people from South Louisiana where they still have hoodoo, and Jamaica, those places, people from those areas are more likely to demonstrate conversion disorder or functional neurologic disorders. So let's watch this and see what we can see. And remember, I think that his voice, when you listen, his voice is like super, super tight. Yes, formication justice for Mica. Right? I thought, okay, this is weird. Thank you, God, for sending a sign. Right? It's very strange. So I think what we're hearing and seeing here is, I think that he's got so much muscle tension in his neck. If you'll notice, his arm is at a very unusual, it's in a very unusual state, and that's dystonia, right? Usually dystonias, there's some movement too, but if the spasticity is strong enough, they'll look like they're frozen in a weird gesture. And so he looks like his left arm, he looks like it's sort of frozen in place, and it stays in that very curious and odd position. His body doesn't hardly move. When he's talking, he's not moving his jaw at all. And then toward the end of the video, he begins to talk, and suddenly he's moving his jaw again. And he asks, well, will you please help me get some water? And so the man who is there helps him get a drink of water, and he slowly sort of starts coming back. But I would challenge you to say he starts regaining his faculties when the guy starts being nice to him, which is very interesting, isn't it? No, I don't think it's helium voice. I think it's the muscle spasticity, or the larynx is creating that unusual sound. It's very childlike, isn't it? Yeah, tiger prayers. He flipped his lips, didn't he? Absolutely, he did. And some of you are going to be like, oh my gosh, you're not being very kind. You're not being empathetic. I'm going to have a hard time being empathetic toward a would-be preacher who posted naked photographs of his wife online because he didn't like that she was telling the truth. So he wanted to shame her. I'm having a hard time with empathy because I think this man is responsible for the death of Mica. I do. I think he drove her to a place of complete hopelessness. So let's go ahead and listen to this and see how it turns out, because it is really, if you haven't seen this yet, prepare yourself, because it is about one of the most unusual things that you probably have ever seen.
JP, you all right, man? You okay? Huh?
Now, let me point out something. As he lays there in this curious, body position, and he's trying to talk, but his jaw is locked, so he's not forming words very well. I just want you to notice his truck, please. He's given this impression that he's fallen out onto the ground. Help, I've fallen and I can't get up. But he got his truck out of the road perfectly.
You okay? What's the matter?
Here's the other part too. When Ty, the man that you hear talking, Ty Longenbach, when he says, "Are you okay?" he can shake his head yes. He can shake his head yes, but he's acting like his jaw is unable to move. I don't know, JP. You didn't convince me.
You okay? What's the matter? Huh? What's the matter?
Moving his fingers.
Switch my medication. Makes me go crazy.
The medicine makes him go
Somebody
crazy.
helping you?
I think Mark's coming to get me.
Oh, okay.
I thought I was going to see Jesus.
He thought he was going to see Jesus.
Okay. But you got Mark coming?
Somebody called him, I think.
Okay.
I feel like he's inviting me. I can't
So-
go to see Jesus. Because the ants bite me everywhere.
Ants are
Is
biting
your
him everywhere.
medication something they gave you?
Yeah, they were drunk.
Yeah.
There's some new daisies or something.
Can you want me to make sure Mark's coming?
Yeah, all I do is find out when my phone's on me. I don't know.
But somebody's called him, right?
Yeah, the lady across the street called.
Okay. All right.
Some people said that he actually sounds
Hey,
more
JP,
like he's in an infantile state.
I think Mark
like
is
he
coming.
regressed to childhood.
I had him try to get in touch with him again to make sure. Is that okay?
You know what the ants?
Huh?
The ants fight me. There's ants all over me.
Feels like there's ants on you? There's no ants on you, though. It's just, maybe that's how you feel, but there's none on you. There's none on the grass.
Okay, now amphetamine use, that would be cocaine or even some like ADHD type medications, overdosing on Ritalin, something like that. Those types of medications can cause formication. But I would be disinclined to believe that might be the culprit here, because he's not agitated, right? He's very, very still. So it's hard to believe that he would be overdosing on an amphetamine, a stimulant, to the point that he would be experiencing formication, but not have agitation. So that's very strange. I just want to see Jesus.
What kind of medicine do they have you on? All right, well, somebody's going to come, okay?
Okay, now he's starting to move.
Do I need to call 911?
Yeah, call
Do I need
911.
to call the medics?
Yeah, call 911. He just needs to get to Jesus. Okay, I want to point something out. Okay? As you listen to this and you start feeling sympathy for him, feeling bad, I want to remind you he was having an affair with girls at the church under the age of 16, number one. Number two, he had an affair with his best friend's wife. That was Mica, and he started messing with Mica when she was 14. That's number two. Number three, when Allison, the wife, said, "You're a sicko. You told the church you have a sex addiction. I don't want you around me or my kids." And the judge said, "You're going to pay $1,200 for the kids per month and $1,100 in alimony." This man made one payment and then didn't pay anything else. And he showed up at the hearing in a wheelchair, claiming that he broke both of his legs, and yet miraculously he was walking again within a couple of weeks. Yeah. So you might want to check that sympathy at the door and look at this from a scientific perspective. Also, he's talking like this. He's talking like a little boy. I just want to go see Jesus. I just need to go see Jesus. But, and that could be the larynx, right? That could be spastic larynx where it's tight and it's not able to resonate properly. But when he's breathing in, he's got a normal tone. I am disinclined to believe this dramatic show. Listen closely. I didn't go far enough. Listen. Did you hear when he went, breathing in? Yeah, what happened to that spasticity around the larynx? Because that sounded normal, didn't it? I just need to get to Jesus. I just need to see Jesus. I mean, this looks like conversion disorder or world-class manipulation. Is this a man who stands on his own 2 feet and approaches his problems? Or is this a guy who is used to manipulating people to feel sorry for him to get what he wants? The ants are getting in his head now. All he wants to do is jump up and have dinner with Jesus. That is, in fact, what he's saying.
Yeah, we got somebody coming.
Is he all right? No, he's not all right. Clearly.
You want some water or anything? You want some water? Yeah, he said okay if you got a little bottle of water.
This is the fastest I've ever seen spasticity resolve without medical care. You wondering what kids are doing? Your family's going to abandon you? Is that what you said? Your mom is going to be embarrassing you? Is that right? You want to tell Jesus to help you?
I don't know. I think they changed his medication or something, he said. And he said like ants was crawling on him and stuff. So I got somebody coming. Okay. Yeah. I live across the street.
Back over here.
Oh, okay.
So, well, let me know if I can do anything.
Okay, I think he's. Here's some water, JP. You want some
No
water?
laryngeal constriction present.
You
You always take good
Okay,
care of me.
You want to try to sit up? You want to try to sit up, or you want to put it to your mouth, or what?
I'll be out in a few minutes if you need anything.
Okay.
The other guy leaves him in the house. Yeah, tuck him into bed, give him his passy, it'll be okay. That's right.
Is that enough? You want more?
I really think
I can't stop making noises in the morning when I wake up.
If Mark can't make it quick, you want me to get your mom over here?
no, don't call my mom.
Crazy. Always thought I wanted to get on medication, and this is what it does.
He's blaming it on medication.
I can't eat, I can't sleep, I can't do nothing.
Can't eat or sleep.
I feel like I answer my eyes.
Answer in his eyes. Okay, that's it. The guy turns the video off. And he starts moving his arm because he's gotten uncomfortable now, right? Okay. That's pretty spectacular. I'm sure that there are people that have said, oh, I think it's demonic possession because he has engaged in some horrific behavior, not horrific behavior only toward Mica, but for decades at the church, even when he was serving another church, multiple women, sex addiction, underage girls, posting naked photos of his wife that everybody knows from the church on Facebook. I mean, this is a very curious little fellow right here. So Ty Longerbeam posted this, and he posted it with a statement. And here goes the statement. And this is Ty in the video with him, and Ty's, pouring him a drink of water into his mouth and trying to show some compassion for this man who has really devastated a lot of people, like really, really harmed them, really hurt them. And I don't understand why it is that people that have a church, I know that they get attached to their preacher, they fall in love with their preacher, but when your preacher reveals himself to be a man who is manipulating children for sexual exploration, that is not a man to fall on your sword for. This is not a guy that you stand up to protect. No, this is not. Yes, you can forgive him. Yes, you can show him compassion, but you have got to get him out of that leadership position for the good of all the kids that are at the church. That's why you do it. Not to be punitive toward the pastor, but to protect the kids that look up to people that are in that position. And sometimes we make very foolish decisions because we care about our preacher. Ty says, I believe the saying goes, getting a taste of your own medicine, and I mean that quite literally. You have used and abused for way too long, only to get up on that pulpit and consistently discredit your victims by airing out intentional degradation, inappropriate personal information of the people you have victimized. Doing that allows you to control the narrative. See, he would assault one of the girls. She would make an outcry and say, he sexually assaulted me. And then he would say that the devil was in the little girl and that she was trying to destroy, the devil was trying to destroy the church, and that they all needed to, you know, stand around him and protect him from the devil. And the church did it. They didn't listen to the kids that were saying he was doing these things. Doing that allows you to control the narrative. Now we have the death of your wife that you claim only took her life because of mental illness. The fact is, none of these victims were ever mental until they met you. You are the common denominator. This video is the proof that you yourself have mental health issues, and you know what medication can do to someone. Imagine being in this vulnerable state like this and being met with control, manipulation, and shame. That is what you did to Mica. Now add abuse on top of that, all forms that may apply. Who can handle that? Yet you were met with a soft tone and a bottle of water, and you didn't deserve that. JP, I could have done this anonymously, but I want you to see it's coming from me so you don't go after anyone else. You know that I've got the receipts. You know I'm not scared of you. I've never met anyone like you, but what I have learned and been taught is that people like you repeat their behavior, and every so often they slip up and they show who they really are. Sometimes they even type it in an email. I think it's abundantly clear that you haven't been held accountable for any of your actions over the many years, and I never hit the recycling bin. That he's telling JP he's got the goods on him. Solid rock, let me introduce you to your pastor. This is the version of your pastor you don't see on Sundays. This is the guy you allow to give you and your family counsel. This is the guy you give permission to speak into your life, the guy you share personal, vulnerable information with that he will use against you when and if you question him. It's time to really take a step back and evaluate what is going on. JP, you are a complete SHIT stain to all of the other pastors that truly desire to lead people to the Lord. You are a liability to the Christian faith and to anyone that you set your eyes on. The reason why most people didn't speak up the first time is because they know your reaction is ruthless. You have been a little bit of local power with enough financial resources to hurt people legally, and they fear putting their family at risk. His dad was a bad actor too. And the few others that don't speak up believe it's not the Christian thing to do. Well, neither is doing nothing. I also believe Jesus flipped some tables. And so here I go. You've already had the chance the first time around for a time of healing, counsel, and guidance pursuant to our governing instrument. The second time, your reverend had to give that same PR speech to a church body. Yet you chose to smack every former member in the face that would have supported you if you got the help you needed. So please don't mistake this video as a broken man who misses his family. This man, J.P. Miller, is a twisted individual using one of his many tactics to manipulate his way back into control. His target, Mica, did not let that happen. She kept her foot down, and you changed gears and got nasty. Over the years, his ways to manipulate have gotten more effective with more precision and more pain. To those who are the reason, to the ones who are the reason I am involved, I hope you understand why I had to do this. Enough is enough. So he has this video, but he's clearly got a lot that will reveal that he's a manipulator and a user. I thought that it was interesting, this display of body language that he put out, that he used, in addition to the wheelchair event. What do you guys think? Was this demonic possession? Was it conversion disorder? Or is it just a guy who knows the gig is up, his story has gone international, And there's literally not a place on the globe where this guy can hide from his past deeds. All right. There you go. I hope you guys have a really, really great Saturday night. I'll see y'all around on YouTube. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.